welcome one and all, and once again to the premiere of Dynasty Pulse right here on Fantasy Sports Advice Network on the YouTubes. I am Bigz. I got Grindberg over here. Schultzy is back. Fun fact, he wasn't taken away by the Cape Fear Mermaids. Chev is down there. Coach Retzlaff is here. And we got a great show for tonight. We're going to be talking rookie quarterback roulette. That's a French word that Grindberg made up because he's from Canada. And so we're going to go round the table and with our special guest and talk rookie quarterbacks. So that should be fun because everybody here agrees on everything, right, guys?
Yeah.
Before we get to that, let me go ahead and introduce our guest. He is friend of the show, and I thought he was a co-host, but apparently we are bringing him on. Fellow Fantasy Sports Advice Network analyst. I think that's how you say that word. Brian Hartman.
Yo!
Before we had a dearth of Brian, now we have too much Brian. Brian Hartman, how the hell are you? And go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us where we can find your tell the viewers, because we already know where they can find your stuff.
What's happening, fellas? Thanks for having me on. Excited to be here. You know, if loving bad quarterbacks is a crime, then I don't want to be, right? You know, like I'm here excited to talk about some quarterbacks. Here on the Fantasy Football Advice Network with the fellas. It's Too Much Fantasy Football is where you're gonna find me. At too much _ Brian, and the focus is just out the window already. Just
what do you call it when you mix metaphors, but instead you're getting lyrics wrong?
That's a hyperbole, I believe.
I don't think so. All right, Grindberg, you want to lead us into this?
Man, he was ready.
Shut. What's up, buddy? I have a question. Actually, it's just more of a statement. I have never seen an avatar on an intro video not match up with the voice that I just heard more ever in my entire life. Now, go ahead, Grindberg. We can start the episode now.
He's got some dulcet tones, like best in the biz kind of pipes.
I did my best. I mean, Brian, clench him up. You know what I mean? You can hit those high notes, couldn't you, buddy?
Clench him up.
Dude, not a chance. Not a chance. There's like 2 octaves I get to hang out on, and they're all down below. Anytime I want to sing those high notes, nope, I squeak like I'm 15 years old again. It's terrible. It's horrible, man.
That's awesome. All right, fellas. With the draft being, just a week away, it's time to dive into some of the most polarizing and
There's
most
a draft?
Yeah, there is, exactly. Are you going to be there, Bigz?
Yeah, but it's next week. I better get going.
Next week already. Yeah, we're a week away. So there's going to be some potentially franchise-altering, changes in fantasy football. The quarterback position, we've heard a lot of buzz, seeing the mock madness, and now we're hearing that 4 quarterbacks have been invited to the green room, and that is intriguing to me. This could be a lot of fireworks going on here, and now we got our expert, Brian, that we're going to probe. So, Schultzy, roll that clip, buddy. All right, we're here probing our expert, and Brian, today we're talking rookie quarterbacks, and Schultzy. Oh, no, who is it? It's Coach today. Coach gets the first question.
Hey, first up, it's a beautiful thing. Brian, what's the best read you have on Shedeur Sanders? Raiders 6, Saints 9, Steelers 21. They're the teams that have been floated about by Louis Riddick, and Deion Sanders are very tight. So there's just been a lot of conversations going. And then what's leaked out has been that preference by the Shedeur Sanders camp. What can you make juxtaposed with maybe even Jalen Milroe? We're hearing he could creep into the first round. Is there a Shedeur Sanders slide? And who would creep up? Would it be Jaxson Dart flipping? Or would it be Milroe condensing in with just a small slide on Shedeur Sanders? What's your read?
It's interesting. The 2 of the main 3 teams that you have, where Sanders could be going are in the top 10. At this point in time, like if I'm making the bet today, I think Dart's going ahead of Sanders. I think Sanders is going to get picked up by one of these teams in the 20s, and Dart gets, he gets the dart thrown at him. Sorry for the horrible, but like I that's just where I'm feeling now. The talk is all over the place. Todd McShay's been the main one I've been kind of like honing in on, listening, and like it just seems so much like Sanders could be falling. I think that might be for the better. At least the 2025 season. I'm so much higher on Sanders if he goes to the Steelers versus going to the Raiders or the Saints. Most likely he's gonna have to sit. They just signed Geno. The Geno's going to at least get a crack at it there for the Raiders, and then as well down there for New Orleans. As long as Derek Carr is healthy, the dude's owed $80 million. Like they can't cut him. They absolutely cannot cut him this year. So. I think we're locked in there with both of those guys. So at least for the 2025 season, I would love to see him go down to the Steelers. And I mean, it's Arthur Smith. We're going to want to pull our hair out a little bit, but I mean, it's a solid team around him.
Man, I love that. And what we predict, what will or won't happen, I just feel like the word that we're getting, there's going to be a shift. And it's kind of funny. I like the fact that because I've been getting that sense that there could be a flip with Jaxson Dart and Shedeur Sanders. Granted, it doesn't necessarily mean we rank them differently or, we align the position of the scheme fit to our pre-draft evaluations. But very interesting there that there could be a shift. I can kind of see the possibility if the Raiders did pass on Shedeur Sanders and it goes 9 to the Saints, that the Saints go in on Jaxson Dart. And then the Steelers would be in a position, I think, at 21, maybe to have to trade up, be aggressive. So that'll be very interesting. I like your take on that.
Interesting.
I just want to throw in there that we have the New York Giants who have signed Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston in the offseason. They also have Tommy DeVito. And I don't think they can be out of the sweepstakes at this point. If they were to go ahead and cut Jameis Winston for 2025, it would be a $3 million cap hit. That's pretty affordable, especially when you're bringing on a rookie deal and you don't have to pay it out for another 4 years at least. So I would not count. Plus, we have the immortal brain of Joe Schoen, who is always known to do the best thing for his team in the draft. So for the Giants, and Schoen has come out and said, well, we just did that so that we could have our options open. I'm pretty confident that Shedeur is going to either Cleveland or New York. I don't think that those signings in New York are preventing Shedeur from landing there at all.
So you're saying three is still in play for Shedeur Sanders?
I think so, yeah.
I'd like to see him trade back into the first rather than take him at 3. Like at this point, there's so much like discourse on it. Like I feel like they could get, a value letting him, picking him up a little later, but I don't know.
But we're talking about the New York Giants.
100%, man. As the Raiders fan, are you wanting to see Sanders land in
New York? Absolutely. 31 other teams, but Vegas, please.
You hold out for next year?
I think their plan is to grab somebody in like the 3rd or 4th and just have them sit. Aiden O'Connell's still there. He has shown that he can at least spot start. Bradley Carter is, he's in Vegas and he's they like him. UDFA out of South Alabama, son of one of the defensive coordinators from Indy, who shall remain nameless because he's terrible and should never work in the NFL again. But yeah, I think they're okay kicking the can down the road.
Interesting. All right. Okay. So let's move on to another quarterback that's going to, been the buzz in this early round topics. And Chev, you got a little bit of inkling to talk to Brian about your guy here. Well, maybe not your guy, but a guy that you've, have some apprehensions about.
Well, Brian, first and foremost, thank you for bringing you and your voice box to our illustrious show, and gracing us with your tones and presence. Now, I do have a question here. And every year we see quarterbacks get far too steamed up, and see teams get too much over their skis and overdrafting quarterbacks. Do you think Jaxson Dart's the latest example of this? Jaxson Dart, who only had 12 touchdown passes in SEC competition play this year. If you take away the 6 touchdown game against Arkansas, it was only 6 touchdowns in SEC play this year. Do you think that we're getting enamored with the idea of him as a big-armed, mobile quarterback? And does that lack of production against top-tier SEC defenses, does that scare you at all? Do you see him as a lock to be a top 10 pick? I'll cede the floor to the man with the golden pipes.
Oh, all right. Well, let's go ahead and start unwrapping that package there slowly. As far as a lock top 10, I don't think 15. I couldn't call him. I don't think a lock for 10 or 15. Like I said, if I was betting on it, unfortunately here in Virginia, I can't bet on the draft. It's like the only thing they won't let us bet on, unfortunately. But if I could, at this point, I would probably put my money that he goes top 10 just because we had 6 of 12 picks last year were quarterbacks. The league's hungry for him, so why not? But I think we are in a situation with this draft class that he is. I mean, we're talking about him as either QB2 or QB3 and 90+% of conversations. There we go. There we go. Bigz is ready to to throw it out a little bit. But like for the most part, you're kind of seeing him right there. And in how many other classes would he be talked about there? So I think that is where the steam. It's that desire, that need for a quarterback that we are having to. I mean, hell, all of a sudden we're talking about Milroe possibly going in the first round. You've got Shough, whatever the hell his name is. That guy, he's been flirted with the first round in some circles. So like, I think he is a beneficiary of this class being a little weaker than all. End of the day, though, the dude does have a bit of a rocket, and he can run the ball. So, like, it's enough for me in fantasy that I'm willing to be interested. And in most circles, I'm going to be more interested in him than Sanders, no matter the landing spot, purely because of the way he plays ball versus Sanders. What is Sanders' ceiling? Probably maybe top 5, top 8, for a handful of seasons. But Jaxson Dart could give you number 1 overall finishes. So, not that he would, but I'm just saying with his mobility, he puts himself in that bucket of a player that could give you that without having to throw 45+ touchdowns.
Oh, I love that. I just took him in 2 of my startups, but I asked that question solely to piss Bigz off in the manner in which I phrased it. So, yeah, I wanted to ask that because it does seem that he's getting the steam of a lock top 15 pick at this point. Some people, have him as their bona fide QB1 somehow or another. I don't really, but that's that's just how it happens. I wanted to hear you talk about it because now it is wrinkled into my brain along with every single bass clef that you uttered just now. So yeah. The floor is anybody else's.
My favorite part of that was when Chev started off with our crew and he said illustrious when I thought he was going to say humble, which are antonyms. You're right, Chev. We are not humble. This is the best show on the internet. No, I recognized it and I don't disagree with you. I don't think that Jaxson Dart should be going in the first round. I don't think any of the quarterbacks in this class should be going in the first round, but such is the state of the NFL. And, that's where we are at.
Fair. All right.
Well, lucky for us in our drafts, they're not going to be mock anymore. They're about to be real in our rookie drafts. We're going to be afforded 3 Shough quarterbacks, likely in that first round. Then, of course, we'll see how much things buzz up for Jalen Milroe. Granted, he'll probably be buried on a depth chart. So love it for fantasy football. Helps us jam in that first round rookie capital.
So you bring up Jalen Milroe, Coach. Let me ask Brian. Is this scenario where you see Cam Ward going number 1, Shedeur Sanders falling to Cleveland or New York, Dart going to New Orleans, and Milroe winding up in Pittsburgh in the first round of the draft? Is that something that you think is out of the question?
Out of the question? No, it's the NFL. Anything's. I mean, what is it? Brenton Strange went in the first round a couple years ago. Like, come on, the Patriots are in the draft. Of course, anything's possible. Hey, come on, Colts fan. I got to do it. But no, I don't think. And if it lays out the way you said, I would want Milroe over Sanders in every single draft. I'd probably want him over. Would I want him over Ward as well? I don't know. That actually might be a little bit of a toughie for me, but I would want him over Sanders 100%.
Oh, hey, how about okay? Break it down: 6 points and 4 point leagues.
I don't know if that even changes it too much for me. Like
I'm
just the rush
with Ward and Milroe.
I think I might take Milroe in both. Like we're going to get into that conversation here, but like we're talking about Ward and where his skill set is, but I don't know, that rushing upside, man. Again, Colts fan, Anthony Richardson, he's got me on the hook, so why would I not be?
All I'm saying, guys, there's a realistic chance here that Milroe goes to the Steelers because of the situation that happened in New Orleans. You know, Derek Carr's shoulder is a question mark. That could be what he's playing as an angle, but it could force New Orleans' hand to pick a quarterback, and that is going to steam up another guy. And Pittsburgh's in the market. I think that's a really good fit for Milroe, honestly, and that could be fantasy gold. I said it on our forecast show earlier today. I think that's a really good fit for him, and I think he could be very good with Metcalf and potentially George Pickens. And then you never know what happens at running back. A guy could slide like an Ollie Gordon in the Steelers, could be very, very, very good for fantasy.
Bedmates.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And that could be a possibility here, guys. So I'm going to move on to my question here for you, Brian. And it does have something to do with Jalen Milroe. So I'm going to throw this your way as a diehard Colts fan. You've already hitched your real life hopes and potentially your dynasty roster hopes to Anthony Richardson. But let's talk about Jalen Milroe, a freak athlete with a big arm. He's got questions as a passer. Does that sound familiar to you? Well, it does, right? You know what I mean? He's got the kind of AR5 style trajectory. But for Milroe, is he more of an A-Rich light without the ceiling? What are your thoughts on him? And what I just, kind of alluded to, with this first round draft capital now being invited into the green room. And, there's a lot of speculation here. And we know what a quarterback with his talent could, if they hit in the NFL, they're huge, right? That could be the next, Cam Newton type scenario, right?
Oh man, it's an interesting one. So it's funny you call him Anthony Richardson light. Like that's probably what you'd smack the label on, but it's not necessarily a bad thing in some sense of the word. Like Anthony Richardson, he's a tank. The way he moves, he's just giant. Jalen Milroe, he moves faster. Like he moves better than Anthony Richardson. So I think he has that edge as far as what he could give us on the ground in fantasy. And I think that's why I would like him maybe a little bit more. If you're saying the passing is just out the window and you're asking who's the better rushing upside, I think you're gonna go Milroe over Anthony Richardson. Goal line, maybe you give it to Richardson just because he's a hoss, but as we've seen, he breaks on like 50% of those. No shade, buddy. Good luck this year. Woo! But as far as Milroe, you get the 4.4 speed, huge arm. Funny enough, on my our show, my co-host absolutely loves George Pickens. He's got a whole bedroom with fat heads of George Pickens. And I keep saying, I'm like, hey, he's going to get traded. He's going to get traded. Why would you need two deep threats like George Pickens and DK Metcalf? Well, honestly, fellas, I think we figured it out because when you go get Jalen Milroe, a guy who has the worst short game in the class, of course you would get guys that just run deep. He's either going to scramble or toss it deep. So, I mean, the matchup sounds great if he goes to the Steelers. I mean, it could work out, but that's, again, we went that first round capital. They don't have a second round pick because of the DK trade, but Milroe, it is going to all be about the draft capital for me to have that, that strength to draft him in your rookie drafts.
Yeah, but where would he land, though, if he does get that first-round draft capital? Now, is he tailing on the end of the first round now? Is he pushing some of these running backs with high draft capital now because it's such a deep class? Because, now he's going to be put in a position where, like you said, you may even be drafting him over Cam Ward, or playing him over Cam Ward in certain situations. So that's a pretty realistic situation now. Like, is Jalen Milroe a better pick over like a Quinshon Judkins in a decent landing spot? Like, yeah, that's a conversation that needs to be happening right now when we think about round one draft capital and the upside there landing in a decent spot.
Yeah, I think at this point, if he gets that first round draft capital, he's locked in to be a first round rookie pick. I think you could at that point potentially argue he could be QB 1 through 4, somewhere in there, just because of that rushing upside. Because even if he flames out within 3 years, like Kenny Pickett did with the Steelers, we could definitely see that happen.
Yeah, I mean, but look at what the people in the fantasy community invested into Anthony Richardson, and like, with his athleticism, everything that was going in there, the high value draft capital, people were like drafting him, myself included, last year in startups, as the QB4. And that's, after his rookie season where he didn't even play much, right? So that's a reality here. Like, that's how much quarterbacks are coveted in this league, and especially in dynasty startups. Cam Ward, obviously he's the number 1 pick here, but like whoever mentioned earlier in the show there, that comparison with Jalen Milroe and getting a Steeler landing spot could put him into that top tier range here as far as first round draft capital and rookie drafts. And Chev, I want to hear your voice move a little bit here. Your lips have been stuck in that position. Like, I'm not going to say what, but let's get them.
It looks like I just left. What are
Chev
you doing, man?
Somebody put in our private chat, Chev looks like the Pikachu meme. He doesn't. He looks like that little squeezy thing where you squeeze it and the eyes pop out.
That's not what pops out when I squeeze it.
On this Milroe talk here, Chev. You obviously have something to say.
Gentlemen, now Jalen Milroe does have the collegiate, the requisite collegiate starts that we want from a quarterback. He's not going to be like Anthony Richardson, who only started 13 games or however many it was, and rotated with a dude who's probably second shift at Amazon now. So for me, I want this to happen for Jalen Milroe. I just don't think that if we're looking at 2025 for the answer, like best case scenario, he lands in a spot where it looks like they're slightly established. Well, he gets to Jalen Hurts. And so he flashes when he flashes in a situation where we're not expecting him to play immediately. I think so he has the highest fantasy ceiling. Well, if we're talking in terms of range of outcomes, it's probably him and then Jaxson Dart in terms of like fantasy ceiling. But I think that his floor is him playing running back or being Taysom Hill. So we watched this happen with Anthony Richardson, and we're assuming now he is a guy who is adaptable, who we've seen now them debunking the fact, like him not being able to go through progressions and things like that. I just don't know if he has the tools to play quarters, to throw at anticipation, to do the things that you have to be able to win in the big boy downs on third down with his arm and not his legs, because he does have a cannon rocket for an arm. And I was questioning myself this entire time we started talking about George Pickens, because of the fact that, I was like, am I your co-host? It's like, I too love George Pickens so much. And I was harmed. I thought about bringing a class action suit for what he did, to me in several arguments where I was saying that he was better than Drake London. He embarrassed me in front of the Garden Tools, and I'll never forgive him for that. So
with the garden gnome staring at you.
Yeah, all the garden gnomes, all the garden tools, they're in the yard just staring at me, talk about George Pickens. Anyway, yeah, I just how concerned are you that this just goes very poorly for Milroe if he is a top 50 pick?
Who's that question to? Me?
Anyone. I mean, there's six of us.
Let me jump in then. Once. Let me handle this, because I just talked about it on the forecast a couple hours ago with Mike. It'll be launching sometime this weekend or today.
Whenever the forecast
or
decides
tomorrow, whenever it launches. All right, let's not forget that there were questions about Josh Allen's passing ability. Some people had questions about Lamar Jackson's passing ability. Some people had
questions about Anthony Richardson's passing.
No, nobody questioned that. They knew that he was a big arm guy with zero experience. But the decision making is a different story. But so we can kind of look at this in the light of Jalen Hurts, where he is coming out of Alabama. He has a reputation for using his legs, but needing work with his arm. And if you look a couple years down the road from the draft class that Lamar came in, Josh Allen came in, Jalen Hurts came in, those guys were suddenly top 5 fantasy quarterbacks. That is Jalen Milroe's arc, unless he washes out. But like, Malik Willis. But do you see more Jalen Hurts in Jalen Milroe, or do you see more Malik Willis? Because I certainly see a lot more Jalen Hurts. Now, granted, when I got to the Senior Bowl and I saw Milroe throwing the ball, I was like, oh, no. But I understand the profile, and I think he's closer to Hurts than he is to Willis.
I mean, how can you doubt a guy that grew his hand by 5/8 of an inch? Like, that's impressive stuff right there. Like, what else can he grow? Like
ads, I was told those ads don't work.
Robbing. Get those honey packs.
All right, Bigz, take your probe out and give it to our guest.
All right, Brian. The way that I approach evaluating a player in the rookie class is I start with the premise that player, regardless of where they actually are, is the position one, or that position, the highest ranked player in that position. And then I start attacking the premise. This is not necessarily a dig at Chev. It's not a dig at the Titans. It just so happens to be that right now Cam Ward is the consensus number 1. And I'm not necessarily disagreeing with it. All I'm saying is, in this case, when you approach it with that kind of evaluation, convince me why Cam Ward is not the quarterback 1 of this class.
Well, shoot, I thought we were going to have to fill up quite a bit of time here. This is going to be cake. Easy. No, I'm right there with you, Bigz. I think that's kind of the best way to approach a lot of these players when you're looking at it, especially for these rookie drafts. And as we kind of touched on with some of these other quarterbacks, where would you put Cam Ward in last year's draft? Like, where is this guy going to fall in other quarterback classes? Because is he just at that spot because the Titans didn't do anything to address the quarterback position in free agency? So, like, they have to be taking a quarterback. They have to be taking the best one that's ranked. So, like, if those dominoes didn't fall the way they needed to, would Cam Ward be going number 1? So, number 1, yeah, if you look at the highlights, it looks great. Dude can just fling it down the field. Absolutely lights out when he gets those big, deep plays. But he holds the ball forever. Like, he holds the ball so long. And if Caleb Williams taught us anything this past year, it's that these rookies need to get the ball out quick. They need to – they can't be going for these home run plays. They can't be trying to light up the world like Patrick Mahomes did in his first year.
Hey, so that was slick, man. Smooth. Does that mean that Chig Okonkwo is now just going to light it up with these short area targets? That's what I'm hearing.
Hey, there we go. Hey, we're bringing you on this show because I need you to help me beat up on Brennan a little bit because he is not Team Chig this year. But this year, I'm feeling it. I'm like, if you're not taking Brock Bowers, if you're not taking McBride, you're taking shots in the last round, and Chig is the guy to grab. Or one of. There's like 10 of them. But, like, that's what you're doing. You're taking the late round.
Theo Johnson. Reverse engineer, right? With the quarterback improvement, if the Giants end up coming away with a quarterback, Theo Johnson gets that benefit. Chig Okonkwo gets that benefit.
I was a Bellinger guy, but yeah, I get the logic on the tight end Giants.
Yep, same process. Hey, how about David Njoku with the Cleveland Browns? Hey, you got any more?
Well, I mean, I guess if Hunter ends up going to the Browns, who knows what that'll do for Njoku if we got 2 wide receivers there, but I guess I don't know if we want to get into the Hunter conversation. But back to
where are you on Isaiah Likely?
Is this before or after Andrews gets traded in the draft?
Okay, Ray GQ had it on X, and I love it. Mark Andrews to the Chargers. Let's just roll with that, right? Exercise here. Let's exercise on that. Where are you putting Isaiah Likely? Tight end 16 last year.
I mean, he'd be top 12. Not that that's really saying much, but okay. He'd be easily one of those guys I'm trying to pick up in the double-digit rounds, just for that shot in the dark to see where that offense is going to evolve with him.
I think he'll just be steamed up at that stage. People will overdraft him because they think of that upside in those couple of games and think that he's going to just, slot right in there where, they're a run-heavy offense, and I just don't see that happening on a game-to-game basis. It's going to be spike games here and there, and I don't think he's going to be a, top, 10 tight end week in and week out like people think he's going to be.
Yeah, I wouldn't quite say that he's going to be something consistent, but like that's what you're getting in those double-digit rounds. You're picking up a likely, and then one of those other guys, you're able to kind of swap them based on the matchup there.
So back to my question.
Sorry, we'll just the train get back on the tracks.
What are the reasons that you would have to devalue the current consensus quarterback one in this class? Not saying it's Cam Ward or trying to shade the Titans by any means. He just happens to be the one. What are you seeing?
So, like I was talking about the holding onto the ball too long. So not only are you doing,
doesn't hold on to it as long as Shedeur.
This is true. But he's might be going to an offensive line as bad as Shedeur's because last year, you had Kevin Zeitler who was third in run blocking or pass blocking from PFF, but they just paid a whole lot of money for Dan Moore, who was only 42nd out of 81. They've got their JC Latham, who was 56th out of 81 that they drafted last year. So this offensive line is not going to be great. So
still better than Colorado.
Just barely. And then you've got what do we got, Chev? We going back to tight ends?
He's touching the tips.
Hey, if you're upset, we're going to trash talk the Titans. I'm a rival here with the Colts. I'm all down to trash talk the Titans.
You already said that Chig is going to beat the Colts twice next year. So
first and foremost, okay. First, is that sparkling? Is that Saratoga sparkling water in the corner? Okay,
you dang right it is.
He's addicted.
Now
I got 2 bottles left.
Clocked it. Now let's talk about Dan Moore for a second. Your pass blocking ratings would look terrible too if you had to face TJ. If you had to face Myles Garrett and TJ, what's his face, Trey Hendrickson, and then Kyle Van Noy, who's on all kinds of PEDs. His piss is actually
Van Noy's older than you.
The secret of the ooh, yeah, he is. Yeah.
He's got that gummy bear juice that he takes before games, and then he bounces around. The gummy bear
grinding up deer antler and snorting it like a dragon tail.
He's on that honey, and we know it.
So, your division, it's not gonna look great, but
he said
it's gonna be better than it was last year. They had a dude named Nicholas Petit Monfrere, and he was the biggest joke of an offensive lineman I've ever seen in my entire life. So,
did he go to Regina College?
Petit Monfrere.
That's a little.
You've never watched Alex Leatherwood.
On the right side of the offensive line. So, anywho,
Petit Monfrere.
To say all that, to say it's going to be better, and Cam Ward, War Daddy Ward, two-tone blue, I will be accepting no other questions from the floor at this time. The floor is yours. Your golden voice.
You've got quite a bit. I mean, Cam Ward has a potential where he could flourish. He could do well in that offense. Brian Callahan, the coach down there, he's coming from the Bengals, so who knows? Maybe they just all of a sudden turn it up and they just want to toss the ball 100 times or 600 times this year. Doubt it. But I think there is a path that he succeeds, but I also think that there's a path that he succeeds and you're still not happy spending the 102 on him in the Superflex drafts.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't disagree with that. I think, like I said, from a ceiling perspective, Jaxson Dart and running back man, Jalen Milroe are the two highest ceiling plays in the draft. There's full stop, no equivocations.
Yeah, Cam Ward is a high end QB2, low end QB1 at best.
If it hits right, and you get him a weapon that's the caliber of Antonio Brown, which those don't just grow on trees, then he could be a QB. What was that, Big?
I had something in my throat.
Wait, is Tyler on the show? Tyler?
Hey, we finally found someone who's a bigger Treylon Burks truther than Bigz, and it's Cam Ward himself.
Yeah, Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Hey,
I would not go on Twitch and say that.
Top 4, baby. Top 4 receiver in the NFL.
It's because he knows they're trying to get draft capital to trade him away.
But in all seriousness, though, I don't think it's going to be fantastic for fantasy, but I do think that he's going to be able to keep us in games and operate the offense. So, I mean, if he's a middling QB2 for fantasy, that's to me that's a win, because he's not going to throw for 4,500 yards. He's not going to throw for 35 to 40 touchdowns. We don't have the ecosystem to support that. But if he does support Chig to a top 10 tight end season, which I fully expect, and, Calvin Ridley's air yards are realized, it could be a little bit better than what we're expecting. I think he's a really good quarterback.
Give me some Tajay Spears this season.
We have a
Let's go.
We have a Tony Pollard thing. I just did a buy low video where I talked about Tajay Spears as a buy low, and some dudes in the comments arguing with me that you had to pay multiple, starting with a first round pick to acquire Tajay Spears. So, I mean, maybe the rent's just a little too high on Tajay Spears. I don't know. I don't know what leagues that you're paying the first for Tajay Spears, but I hope that it works out really well.
I just realized that I called Carter Bradley Carter, and I am remiss. Let me ask you this real quick, Brian. So let's just arbitrarily call the top 5 quarterbacks in this class: Ward, Dart, Sanders, Milroe, McCord. Rank them in terms of ceiling and rank them in terms of floor.
Ceiling, I'm gonna go Dart, Milroe, Ward,
McCord, Sanders.
Sanders, McCord. And then floor, I'd probably go Shoot.
You're on the right track.
Floor without landing spot. I'm gonna go floor, Ward, Sanders, Dart, Milroe. Yeah.
And so McCord,
but that's only because I know Ward is going to the Titans and where he's going. If I took that out of the equation, I might put Sanders above him, just because I'm also putting in landing spot. I'm expecting him to go to Cleveland, because I think if you put him in that system, I think he would give you a floor that you couldn't mess with. But yeah, landing spots.
I think the thing that I've been saying for a while is Andy Dalton. That's what you're expecting from Shedeur in terms of like consistent performance. And more along the lines of like Andy Dalton 2013 and like 2018, 2019. That's kind of what I'm expecting.
I'm getting crazy Bryce Young vibes. Rookie season Bryce Young.
Season Bryce. This is so disrespectful.
Sure. 100% all over that. Like it's going to take him some time. I mean, Bryce Young was a great processor too. And he was cerebral. He could throw the ball downfield. He's got all these metrics. But they made him with a makeshift offensive line and no weapons around him, he's going to really struggle in the NFL to process. That is my take on the situation. And take the hat down.
Chev is now unhinged. Speaking of unhinged, right here on the Undroppables, I have a new weekly show that debuted this last week called Unhinged, where I give my unhinged takes.
Football or just anything.
Also, while we're here, watch episode 1 of Black Mirror, and you see Bigz. He starred in it.
I'm worried about Shedeur, and he's not going to get the same first overall draft capital that Bryce Young is going to get. So I think he's going to have a harder time getting a shorter. Like he's going to have a shorter leash too right away. And I just think it's going to be a tough go. That might be bold. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I mean, the NFL teams aren't biting either because of all the Deion Sanders takes, and now he's backtracking. So obviously the NFL is not processing Shedeur the same way. So I don't think it's outlandish to think that this trajectory for him could happen.
I think that goes back to the initial question that we led into with Louis Riddick, the tea leaves,
Raider legend,
where we're talking about Raiders, Steelers, and the Saints, the 3. That's a triumvirate that there seems to be some familiarity, the internal conversations between the Sanders camp, and of course Riddick, who is there alongside. That's what's been passed along. I think that's the signal that we need to look for in the NFL draft. Those 3 teams warming up, because I think the word has gotten out that the Cleveland Browns are going to go Hunter, and the Giants may feel the need to pass on quarterback at 3. So in that scenario, there's feedback both ways. Shedeur Sanders and company do not want the Cleveland Browns. Would you want the Cleveland Browns? They messed up Baker Mayfield. Look at what Baker Mayfield is doing in Tampa Bay. And then if you go to the stadium in Cleveland, I know Anthony Richardson is hurting you, Brian, but you go to a stadium in Cleveland and there's like 30 different names on the back of a jersey off the last 20 plus years. So I kind of like the fact that we're kind of skipping the niceties early on between the Browns and Shedeur Sanders. And maybe the reality can set in for Sanders to the Giants. The Giants ownership can get influence possibly, but it sounds like it's shaping up well for those three teams. Those are the three that I would be watching.
Even the Browns, some real steam for that, because you could not pay attention to the NFL draft from the end of the season until right now, a week prior, and you're going to be just as smart as everybody else who's been paying attention, right? The final week is when the real good stuff starts dropping.
I love it, Schultzy. Great call. All right, who's next up on our show sheet as far as a question goes?
Isn't it
Schultzy. It's
Yeah,
a Schultzy, man.
Hey,
straight from NASA.
All right.
You just got off the shuttle. What was going on? What did you eat on that shuttle? Was it?
Did you
You go up with Katy Perry?
Just around like Katy Perry?
No. Never mind. No comment.
Blue penis? Is that
So Tyler Shough, am I right? Yeah, but for real, almost every year, it's kind of hits on Big's question a little bit. Every year we get some guy who brings zero buzz when like actual football is being played, and then in the months leading up to the draft, their stock just magically rises. Right? These guys rarely pan out. But analysts and NFL teams continue to convince themselves these guys can play quarterback at the next level. Typically, they do show flashes on film, right? You'll find a couple clips of these guys making some absurd throws. But, like, you aren't getting to that level even in college without having that ability to do that sometimes, right? And, they often get lauded for being, like, pro-style quarterbacks. And looking back at some of these drafts, these are all dudes who have –
NFL draft.
Oh, that's spicy right there. For the podcast viewers, Bigz is showing us a headline. One head coach says Tyler Shough is the QB1, which is
Was it Matt Waldman?
Jordan Dajani. Don't know him. Know that he's a clickbait artist now.
Is that the pizza guy?
So,
Yeah,
No,
the world famous DiGiorno air. Schultzy, continue your question before I vomit in my mouth.
yeah, fair. But like looking back at some of these dudes who have gotten some real steam and then get drafted, fourth round even, whatever. But like, well, Will Levis was kind of one of them, but he got pumped up really high. But like last year, everybody loved Clayton Tune. That guy did nothing. He's not going to be anything. We talked Malik Willis was one of them. Davis Mills, there's another. Ryan
California
Finley,
Golden Bear legend.
I mean, we had people pumping Ryan Finley back in 2019 as maybe a sleeper quarterback. Mason Rudolph's another one who actually developed into be like an okay backup, and he's probably like the cream of the crop on this list, which is saying something. And then
Tennessee Titan legend Mason
Best
Rudolph.
quarterback in Titans history.
Going back one more here, we got Paxton Lynch, back in 2016. So to me, if these prospects were like actually legit, we would know about them before draft season, and we would have been talking about them, watching them. So for me, I will not be convinced that Tyler Shough will be worth anything in the NFL, and that's a hill I'm willing to die on. What are your thoughts on Shough entering the draft? And secondly, why does this happen year in and year out?
Dude, did y'all even find film on this cat? Didn't he have 3 season-ending injuries? Like, he's as old as I am, practically. Like, yeah, I'm right there with you, Schultzy. It's one of those situations where we're seeing this new trend now. What was it, 4-ish years ago after Brock Purdy? Everybody was taking a 6th and 7th round dart throw on these quarterbacks, even though they needed to be drafted. Well, now what happened? We had all these old guys hit. Bo Nix coming in there, 25-ish years old. He hit. Michael Penix got taken in the top 10. Hey, it's the old guys. Let's go for it. So that's what we're doing here. That's what we're taking with Tyler Shough. And I have no interest in it. I don't as far as my rookie drafts. If I'm loaded up with every, 3rd round pick or 4th round pick in my draft for whatever reason, sure, maybe you'll take that dart throw in your super flex because that's where the value is in quarterback. But do we really see a world where we're that excited for at least this year, if not next year? Like, there's only a handful of teams that are looking for quarterbacks, and I think there's guys significantly better than him.
Shough at the Senior Bowl looked like the fourth best quarterback that I was watching, behind Dylan Gabriel, or fifth best behind Dylan Gabriel, Jalen, Milroe, Jaxson Dart, Taylor Elgersma, the
I was going to say the Canadian Rocket,
the Canuck Cannon. Shough looked. I mean,
shout out to you, Bigz. Thank you thank you.
Shough looked worse than all of them.
He's got that one clip that's been floating around Twitter that he just
God.
like, wasn't it like an underhand throw? Like, yeah. I don't even know what the heck it
sidearm Aaron Rodgers style.
A falling underhand Will Levis, but it goes like 15 yards down the field and it's intercepted.
I've just seen the one where his leg snaps.
Oh,
and then there was a snuff film on Twitter.
Hey, my algorithm's messed up, man. I can't get it fixed. I try to like divert the political stuff like hardcore, and then all of a sudden I get the hardcore stuff. His leg.
The hardcore.
Yeah.
I also had a laugh because
that shit.
The clip came out from the combine of him throwing to a guy. Quarterback, wide receiver. That's it. The only guy's out there, and he dirted him.
It was. I have to say, it was very underwhelming seeing him, because I'd heard listening to some podcasts going into the combine, listening for some of these deeper guys. I was like, all right, so maybe he's a name worth watching. No, not at all. Like, the combine had very few throws that were honestly like really exciting to watch, and I don't remember one that came out of his hand.
Confirmation bias succeeded.
Boom.
Wow, guys, we covered a good chunk of these quarterbacks. That was a great episode because there's a lot of controversy about the first 4 picks, and now it's really gonna even ramp up here even more now as we head into the draft. So looking forward to a great week ahead and a lot of content coming our way. Looking forward to a great week. Boys, what's going on?
Brian, am I going to see you in Green Bay?
No, unfortunately not. I will be locked up virtually with these 3. We'll be doing shorts in between all of your fun live content you'll be doing from Green Bay.
Yeah.
Don't lie to us. Airbnb with
Brian. You're auditioning for the role of Mufasa in Mufasa 2.
Hell yeah!
Stop it.
I was going to say, James Earl Jones thinks that Brian has a deep voice.
Hey,
everything the light touches.
How Bell Atlantic. Give us a little Bell Atlantic,
Hey, they got to subscribe before we get that. Come on. Come on.
There you go. Yeah, hit that subscribe button, folks. And remember, we're kicking it live on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network, on the Undroppables Network. Be sure to check us all out on all our socials. And Bigz, take us home like you always do so great.
Thank you all for watching. Make sure that you go to Fantasy Sports Advice Network and subscribe, and also go to the Undroppables and subscribe. And like Mike said, watch all our content, and we'll help make you better fantasy players. We hope you win.
And order some pickles.
Yes. Sorry, I forgot about that.
Cut it. No.